Leo, thank you very much for that kind introduction. Appreciate it very much. It's good for me to be home, certainly be home with all of you. Bob LaVentura, we've had a nice visit today. We appreciate the work he does in Region 12, which includes the 4 locals that we have here and others. Excuse me. I believe that we can learn a lot about what goes on in the future by looking a little bit at what went on in the past. So just bear with me for a little bit as we talk about what has gone on in Washington in recent years. 3 days after Obama was elected, Frank Luntz and others called a meeting in Washington, and the Republican big shots came from all over the country. They spent a couple days there, and they made 2 main decisions. Number 1, they were going to do everything they could to make sure that Obama was not reelected. Number 2, they were going to oppose everything, no matter what, that the president wanted. Well, they failed miserably, number 1. Obama was reelected by a big margin in spite of their opposition. But number 2, they have succeeded. They have opposed everything the president wanted, and I mean everything. Now, that first Congress, the 111th, we had 58 senators, 59 senators, and 60 senators. The 60 was somewhat illusionary because, as you know, Ted Kennedy, our friend, was quite ill. But on paper, we had 60 senators, and we were able to accomplish so much that Congress. We did it because we had Snow in Maine, we had Collins in Maine, and we had Arlen Specter. And they would join with us. Neither one of them wanted to be the 60th vote, but they worked together, and we were able to do a lot of things because of them. Well, that Congress turned out to be probably the most successful Congress in the history of the country. Even more so, some pundits say, than the first term of Roosevelt. Whether it was first or second, we got a lot done. Think about some of the things we were able to get done. We were able to get Dodd-Frank passed. It was a struggle, but at least it was a large, large step to making sure that we do not let Wall Street take advantage of us again like they did in the past. Look what it did all over the country, but look what it did to Las Vegas. Look what it did to the state of Nevada. No state was hurt more than the state of Nevada because of Wall Street. Well, we were able to get that done, Dodd-Frank. National service, Senator Kennedy and Mikulski had worked on for years. We got that done, and that's now in operation. We passed the Credit Card Bill of Rights to give people who have credit cards some rights. And it worked out extremely well. We took on the credit card companies, and they're big, and we were able to get that passed. We were able to pass the stimulus bill. So important. I went today out to a construction site not far from here, and I was there looking at a solar array. It is unbelievable. There at that facility, we have almost 4 million solar panels. It looks like an ocean out there in the desert sun, creating thousands and thousands of jobs. Not only there, but all over the state of Nevada, solar projects. We have a huge wind project in Ely. We have geothermal projects all over the state. That's because of the tax incentives that we were able to get in the stimulus bill. And we were able to get a lot done because of that and help redirect our great country. Now, did it do everything? Of course not. But it did some good things. It did some good things. And we're on the road to recovery. Are we doing as well as we'd like to? Of course not. But we're doing better. We were able to pass the FDA legislation, Food and Drug Administration legislation, so important. We were able to pass food safety. I don't know how many of you have had experiences with family, friends, or relatives, or neighbors, but you see what happens with food, not having enough inspectors to take care of making sure that all the food that comes from other countries and food that we produce here is safe to eat, and the things we drink is clean water. We were able to recreate a lot of jobs that had been lost in the public sector. Not enough, but we did get something done. We were able to just pass mortgage fraud. We cash for clunkers. Remember how important that was? Create jobs. The Travel Promotion Act, creating in the leisure time industry, thousands and thousands of new jobs. I had to file closure on that 7 different times to get it done. We were able to pass the Hire Act, which said people who have been long-term unemployed, if you hire them and keep them there, we'll give you some tax incentives for doing that. We're able to do the automobile bailout of GM and Chrysler. Think what that's done to our country. And everything we tried to do, and everything we did, the Republicans opposed it. Remember when we bailed out Chrysler and General Motors? It was the end of the free world as they knew it, but it worked out extremely well. So the 111th Congress was a good Congress, in spite of being opposed on every step of the way. What happened in the 112th Congress? Well, our friend, my friend, one of the great public servants in the history of the country, Nancy Pelosi, was not the Speaker. John Boehner became the Speaker. Now, we didn't like that, did we? No. Nancy Pelosi did such a great job. She was such a wonderful partner for me. But more importantly, she was a good partner for you. But anyway, we wound up with John Boehner, and it has been so tough. My big majority I had in the Senate dropped to 53 senators, and we were glad to have 53. Everybody said we were going to lose control of the Senate. We didn't do that. But what happened in the 112th Congress? We don't have time to talk about all the bad things that happened. But we can say basically nothing happened, because they opposed everything. Nothing good happened. Remember all the government shutdown threats? Oh yeah, we had lots of those threats. They even refused to fund the Federal Aviation Administration, basically shutting that down, losing jobs that are our friends. Those jobs were lost. They took us right to the brink of defaulting on our debt. It was a very, very bad 2 years. And then we come to 2013 and 2014, the 113th Congress. Now, this will go down as classic bad. There was so many bad things happened during this period of time. Government shut down. The government actually shut down. They refused to fund the government. We had sequestration, which has been, we're still feeling the pain of that all over the country. But take, for example, something that we're so proud of, and that is what goes on in the state of Maryland every day, the National Institutes of Health, this wonderful institution. They lost $1.6 billion, money that was used to taking care of our families, making sure some of the dread diseases, we learn more about them. That money was taken away, and they'll never get that back. That's that way throughout government. Sequestration was a disaster. But remember, they closed the government. Government was closed. In addition to that, they were going to default on the debt. We had a vote. Now listen to this. Remember, a lot of the problems that we have in this country today are caused because Speaker Boehner will not let Pelosi's troops vote. He simply won't let them vote. But he decided it was so desperate he would let them vote on opening the government and making sure we didn't default in the debt. Keep in mind, 2/3 of the Republicans in the House of Representatives voted to keep the government closed and default on the debt. So that's what we've had to put up with. This is bad, not for me, not for senators, but bad for us, working men and women, our families. They've really, really hurt us so very, very much. Dick Durbin walked into my office one day, senator from Illinois, and he said, "Harry, they're mocking us." And they were. They were defying me to come up with 51 votes to change the Senate rules. They didn't think I could. They didn't think we would do that, but we did, and it was one of the best things that ever happened to this country. We focus on judges. Yes, it's been good that we've been able to catch up on all the bad stuff we had not getting the judges done. But remember, one of the main reasons we did this is they refused to allow us to have new commissioners for the National Labor Relations Board. They refused. So by changing the rules, we got them done. And that has been good for the country. And with what's going on, I say this in Region 12 in Las Vegas with Western Cab, thank goodness we have a National Labor Relations Board that works, and I hope Western Cab feels the impact of that. So we decided this year, 2014, to focus on giving the American working men and women in this country a fair shot. That's all we've tried to do, is a fair shot. This has been our goal, and we've done it because American people need a fair shot. Working men and women in this country need a fair shot. Why do I say that? Well, right now, in this lovely hotel that we're in, stop and think a little bit. Since Obama became president, we've had 8 or 9 million new jobs created, but corporate profits have gone up so very, very high. Corporate profits have tripled during this period of time, tripled. But it has not trickled down. The tripling has not trickled down to us because they kept all the profits. Wall Street's doing great. We're all happy they're doing great. But working men and women haven't fared as well. And that's what this Fair Shot agenda is all about. We've wanted some basic things for this Fair Shot agenda. We want to do something about infrastructure. This is a fancy word, but it means construction jobs. I learned when I came to the House of Representatives decades ago that there are 2 things that stimulate the economy: building homes and building highways, roads, bridges, dams. And there are a lot of steel goes into those projects. Bridges in America are designed to last about 50 years. The vast majority of our bridges have been designed over 50 years ago. We have in America today 70,000 structurally deficient bridges. 14% of Nevada bridges are in need of repair. That's what's happening with roads throughout the country. We have about 25% of our roads, if you were given a grade, you would give them an F. We have roads that are very difficult, and we need to spend money doing that. For every $1 billion we spend in infrastructure, we create almost 50,000 high-paying jobs. 50,000 high-paying jobs for $1 billion. We need to invest money. We have a $3 trillion deficit in our infrastructure. We have roads, bridges, dams, water systems, sewer systems that are in desperate need of repair. But this Fair Shot agenda has not interested the Republicans. They have refused to allow us to raise the minimum wage. That's not good, is it? They have refused to allow us to deal with something that's facing nearly everybody in America today, not just kids, but parents, and that is student debt. Student debt is higher now than credit card debt, and we've tried to do this, and we've been stopped from doing this because of the filibuster, which has become the norm. President Johnson, when he was the majority leader, for 6 years, he had to overcome cloture once. I've had to overcome cloture almost 500 times. So now you understand why we changed the rules. And maybe we may need to do a little more rule changing, don't you think? So, ladies and gentlemen, when I was walking in here today, somebody grabbed me from one of the Washington publications and said, the Koch brothers say they're here organizing in Nevada. And how do you feel about that? I said, why would they be worried about me? What have I done to bother them? Only everything I can, right? Keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, the Koch brothers, these two wealthy men, they're in it for one thing, themselves. They're in it for themselves, not the working men and women of this country. They're more interested in appeasing their billionaire buddies, but their biggest buddy is each other. Charles and David, they do everything they can to make sure they're going to get richer and richer. They have a fundamental belief that our government should have one purpose and one purpose only, and that's to help the Kochs get richer. They don't care about the middle class. They don't care about working men and women. Last week, they wrote a piece in the USA Today, and they blasted the safety net programs that help seniors and struggling families. They opposed that. Yet he failed, the Koch brother that wrote that, failed to mention the millions and millions of dollars that his corporation takes from the federal government. They don't mind taking the federal government benefit. In the eyes of the Kochs, helping billion-dollar corporations is good. Helping disabled and struggling Americans is not so good. They call it collectivism. That's a buzzword, as you know, they used to use for communists. But that's what they call people that I guess they disagree with. In 2010 and 12, the Kochs were trying to buy the government they always wanted, a nation that rolls over to billionaires and ignores the middle class, and that's what they're getting in the Republican-dominated Senate and, of course, the Republican-dominated House. Congressional Republicans are doing everything they can to block legislation that helps you. They simply aren't interested in helping American families, and that's indicated by the matters that we went over talking about a fair shot agenda. How about this? The great senator from Michigan, Debbie Stabenow, introduced legislation called Bring Jobs Home. The Bring Jobs Home Act. The sole purpose of her legislation that was defeated on a filibuster in the Senate was to make sure that when companies go overseas, they don't get tax benefits for that, as they do now. We need to stop that. It is outrageous that you can take jobs outside the country and have the American taxpayer help pay for that. So what Stabenow wanted to do is stop that, and if people wanted to come home, they would get a tax benefit for doing that. That was stopped. The Republicans stopped that, and one reason they stopped it is because of the pressure from the Koch brothers. So I am really grateful to have the opportunity to work with Leo Gerard. He is someone, your international president, that is respected, not only in Washington, here in Nevada, and around the country. He really cares, and I have so appreciated developing a relationship, a friendship with him. So I hope November that we will do what we have to do. The way to determine what's going to happen in the future, as I indicated, is look what happened in the past. We cannot go back to the way that things were during the Bush administration. We need a strong labor movement. We need a national labor board that wants to help working men and women, an administration that wants to help working men and women, and a Senate that wants to help working men and women. We've got a fight on our hands. But if the election were held today, we would maintain control of the Senate. And we're going to continue doing that, working hard until November, Election Day. And with your help, we're going to get over the finish line. Thank you very much.